Man, that's a great question. Kind of a fun question because I don't get on LetsRun, first of all.
So you are very positive on camera and in this interview, but are you as positive in real life as you appear on camera? When I went on Instagram and asked my audience what questions they wanted to ask you, this one was requested several times. So
I had no idea that was happening. Oh my goodness.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Max Effort Interviews with Parker Max, hosted by Parker Max. I have a very special guest today, Seth DeMoor, also known as Seth James DeMoor over on YouTube. He is a fellow running YouTuber, over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. He just ran the Naples half marathon running 65 minutes, and he is a very positive person, almost too positive. There's something suspicious behind why he is so positive. And we talk about everything from his high school running to college running with Mark Wetmore as his coach at CU Boulder, to YouTube, to Taco Bell, of course, and who knows, maybe he even reveals what happened at mile 5 of the Naples half marathon. This was a very fun interview. I'm grateful that Seth took the time out of his day to talk with me. We talked for a long time, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. So, here is Seth James DeMoor. Hey, Seth.
Hey, Parker. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. And you're early. That's cool.
Yes, I am early. I never want to leave a host wondering if someone's going to show up. So here I am, and good to see you. I love the backdrop with the photos there. That's awesome.
Yep, Roger Bannister and John Landy. It's nice. No studio, but
hey, man, no, that's epic. That is, I'm out here. It's a little chilly out here, so I got my coat on. So anyway.
So, Seth, thank you for coming on. Congratulations for your recent performance at the Naples Half Marathon, and welcome back to running, as today I believe you began running again.
That is correct, Parker. Thanks for having me. And man, it's good to be back. Good to be back turning that doorknob again, and took a week off after Naples, but itching to get out there again. So yeah, thanks for letting me come share some of my story with your audience.
And I know I don't have a ton of time. I don't want to take up your whole afternoon. So I'll just ask a couple questions about high school. And I know you weren't the fastest runner in the state, but you were still a pretty solid runner. What was your high school career like, and why did you want to continue running in college?
No, it's a great question. So I grew up, for everyone watching that hasn't heard a little bit of the story, I grew up in a little town in the mountains we call it Buena Vista, but it's properly pronounced Buena Vista. And so it's 8,000 feet above sea level. So good high altitude training my entire upbringing, and was a soccer player, but was a very small kid. So I couldn't really kick the soccer ball very hard, but I could outrun everybody. I was a midfielder, so I played offense and defense. So I was always going up and down the soccer field, outrunning everybody. I never got tired, but I could never kick the soccer ball at all. So I realized basically at the end of my 6th grade year in middle school, why don't I just cut out the soccer ball and just go with running? So that's what I did, joined the cross country team. I guess you asked about high school, but I like telling that story just for all the little kids out there that might watch this, like, keep dreaming, keep fighting. And I love basketball. I loved all the, I guess you could say, more popular sports out there, but realized that running was more for me. And it was really passed down to me from my mom and my dad. They were both big runners in the 70s and 80s. And back when you, wore cotton T-shirts and, just showed up at starting lines and let it fly. So anyway, in high school, again, I was fast. And I guess, there was one other guy on the team that would usually be, actually 2 other guys that kind of would, we'd kind of battle for that top spot on the cross country team. And for me, I mean, it's all about, like, I was just so passionate about winning state championships as a team. And we had some solid teams. We ended up my senior year getting second place as a team. And that was like, we were so close, but we ended up in second place. And it was good. You know, I ran 16:27 in high school here in Denver. So, you know, this is 5,280 feet above sea level. So still elevation, which you get, you know, 6 to 8 seconds per mile. So it's a good time, but it's not fast enough to be recruited to a division, definitely not to a Division I program. Well, you know, depending on the program, but why did I want to keep running? I mean, man, that's a good question. Again, kind of getting back to that, I'm a very competitive person. There's no other way to put it. And so I decided, well, you probably have that question for later. But anyway, that's a little of the backstory from high school is I was a 16:27 guy for the 5K.
That's awesome. And you actually just answered one of my questions I was going to ask later, which is how do you pronounce Buena Vista, Buena Vista, Buena Vista? Yeah. And I went there over the summer. Awesome town. Yeah,
it's a cool little spot in the world up in the Arkansas Valley. And you also did Mount Elbert. I remember seeing that. So yes. we'll have to talk about that later.
So you ended up choosing to go to CU Boulder and trying to walk on. Did you ever consider running D2 or D3 because you would have a lot more opportunities to compete and there's still a high level of competition at those schools?
I did, you know, oh man, you know, there's nothing, I don't know if you went to Boulder and everybody that's been to Boulder, it is a pretty fun town. It's like, it's right at the foothills. It's a beautiful town, a beautiful campus. It's hard to argue with that. Like, for example, I do remember now getting some letters from, nothing against Kansas, but from Fort Hays State. And it's like, you know, Boulder, Fort Hays State. It's like, I don't know. It was hard to leave Colorado once you live here. Just like perfect weather in the summer, not too hot, not humid. There's no humidity here in the summertime. So that's a big bonus. So it crossed my mind, and then you got Adams State, like, you know, the best D2 school for cross country, you know, arguably in the last 20 years, like they're just one of the better ones out there. But again, they're at 8,000 feet above sea level. So I've heard the winters, for those out there watching from Alamosa, like it's freezing, it's windy, it's cold. It can be very, very cold there. So training in Alamosa through the winter can be very challenging. So that's another reason I decided to come to the Front Range, which is again 5,000 feet. It's just a little bit easier to train in the wintertime. Anyway, that's why I selected Boulder. I love the town, love the little city.
Yeah, I went to Boulder over the summer as well, and good dirt roads to run on, running hub, awesome place. And that's probably also the same way with Western Colorado and Gunnison, where it's at 7,700 feet. So that'd probably be tough to train in the winter as well. But
yeah. Oh man, no, Gunnison is actually way colder than Alamosa. Gunnison is the coldest place in the state of Colorado as far as average temperature. It's for some reason where Gunnison sits in the state. So it's Western States College is in Gunnison, and yeah, they're like Adams State, Western State. They're kind of the two perennial D2 schools in Colorado. And man, I mean, they came to Boulder one year, and we raced against them in the Rocky Mountain Shootout, and they did great. Like they held their own against CU. So yeah, another great running school. Colorado's we're definitely a little bit of a running mecca. We like to brag about that.
Yeah, for sure. And we can talk about the other running hubs later, but I want to talk about your freshman year in college. You didn't make the team. When you first tried out, so you didn't make it. The next season, you did make the team. What was your freshman year like in terms of training? You were by yourself, were you getting coached or having someone write workouts for you, or were you just doing it yourself?
So I went from 40 miles a week in high school, was about what I topped out at. Maybe I hit 45 or 50 in the summertime, maybe. So I was pretty low mileage for like these days. That's not that high. A lot of high school programs can push the bar even higher. I don't have any regrets about the training in high school, but as soon as I tried out my freshman year, so I was trying to walk on for those watching and did not make it my freshman year. I think I probably missed it by 90 seconds to a minute in an 8K race. I'd have to go back and look at the times. So I trained on my own my freshman year and bumped my volume up. And I just, I was into running, but honestly, I just love sports. So I was more of a basketball, hockey, football kind of guy as far as watching sports. So I didn't know a ton about aerobic development at that point. And so eventually I started running more, like going out 60 miles a week, 65 miles a week, 70 miles a week my freshman year of college, and then came back and managed to walk on going into my sophomore year. And I think it was a couple minutes off of the 8K time. So that was good. And it was enough to get the attention of Mark. And I think, I was definitely the first place walk on that year. He can't take a walk on every year. And I don't even know if he does take a walk on every year because it's just, the team is just so competitive. But he said, come on board. Let's see what you can do.
And many runners were introduced to the CU program by reading Running with the Buffalo's classic book. Do you feel that Mark Wetmore's portrayal in the book was an accurate representation of who he was in real life? And what was it like to run with Mark Wetmore as your coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. And here's the deal. In high school, again, I was like basketball, baseball. I don't know. I just didn't follow running. I watched, of course, like the Olympics, but unlike you, I could tell you're a big running fan, which I love. That's how I found out about the CU cross country team. I had heard about like Dathan Ritzenhein when I was in, I think like a sophomore in high school. My high school cross country coach mentioned his name because of Foot Locker. And so I had heard that name before, and he was already gone by the time I arrived at CU. But it was really a friend of mine from high school gave me that book as soon as he found out that I was going to CU. He gave me this book to read. And that's how I found out about the fact that you could walk onto the team. I didn't know that. So like I read the chapter, I think it's chapter, 3 or 4, where they talk about the time trial. And that's the only reason I knew. So I know it sounds kind of cliche because a lot of people read that book. So anyway, now, how is Mark? I haven't read the book in a little while. I think it's a pretty accurate portrayal of how he runs the team as far as like, he's in charge and he knows what he wants his athletes to do. But it does not probably portray well his humor, his, really at the end of the day, his true storytelling ability. And actually, I think you asked what was it like to actually run for Mark. Like, I think probably the best storyteller I've ever met in my life. No doubt. Like he can tell stories like there's no, like he's a natural. I think he studied his undergrad was in English and literature. And then his master's degree was in, I believe, physiology. I could be wrong. But he loves reading. Like he's a voracious reader. So his ability to tell stories was second to none. And so driving in the van to go drive to Magnolia or driving to the airport to go fly to a meet, he just had the ability to really captivate the audience, AKA the athletes, the runners, and inspire them. So anyway, I don't think that book really got to the heart of it. And I always say like, I'll just say like he's, maybe, he's got the ponytail. He might not be some people might not feel like he's approachable. And And I would say, I would agree, but I would say it's part of it is because he's so busy investing his time and energy into the team and teams, the men's team, the women's team, the indoor track, the outdoor track, the cross country. He doesn't have time to talk to everybody. So he's just like so dedicated to the athletes. It's Anyway, I'll leave it there. But that's a little insight into running from Mark Wetmore.
He sounds like the type of coach that we would all want to have, someone who's that dedicated to the team. And you mentioned that he's a good storyteller, and I think it was in Running with the Buffaloes. It might have been in Matt McHugh's An Honorable Run. So there's a story told by Mark Wetmore where he was putting in high mileage and he wanted to save money on shoes. So he decided to buy like the cheapest shoes he could find at Target. And he thought he would be able to get like 50 miles out of them and it'd be cheaper than buying the really nice pair of shoes. And he gets like one run done and they're already falling apart.
Uh-huh.
So what's your favorite story that was told by Mark Wetmore?
Oh, man. That's a good question. Let me just think here. Oh yeah. You've probably heard this story before, but it's all about, oh man, I'll try and be concise. Other people, because I think I've even heard this through some old videos, but it's basically the story about building his teams where in high school, he was into road racing, like cars, muscle cars. And so some kids would go to their parents' garage and build GT Trans Am from the ground up, and make it faster, tweak things, kind of tinker with the engine, try and make things faster. And then some kids would show up at the starting line. So then they'd show up with this GT to the starting line. A Grand Am I'll just throw that out there. I'm not a car guy. And then some kids would show up at the starting line with like a brand new Corvette that their parents bought them. But nobody respected the kids that showed up at the starting line with a brand new Corvette that the parents bought. And because it's like, well, you didn't build it. You didn't put in the work to build your own car from the ground up. And I'm not telling the story exactly right. He basically used that example as he wants to build his teams from the ground up, recruiting kids, sometimes from Colorado, sometimes from all across the United States, and really invest in their aerobic development, play the patience game with his athletes, and not just fly in the kids from around the world that might be the fastest from around the world. And just like, so anyway, and I think that's probably why he let me walk on, is the fact that I was a part of that little engine that he was trying to build up at the University of Colorado. So anyway, I'm not telling the story exactly right, but I just love that story of, building your own engine and not relying on somebody else to build it for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like how people respect the people who have been putting in the hard work and dedication versus the people who just have a ton of natural talent. And people still respect the people with natural talent, but they just don't it's not as inspiring to see the people who have a ton of natural talent and get really fast versus the people who might be slower and then become faster over time with hard work.
Yep, exactly.
So what was your relationship like with other members of the team? You would have overlapped with Jenny Simpson and possibly Emma Coburn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of them were on the team when I was there. Both obviously Olympians. And Billy Nelson, another Olympian in the steeplechase. So it's you go to battle. It's a band of brothers, 100%. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's a dedication. It is a full, it's close to a full-time job to run, I don't know about, but I'll just say at CU, like you are, and it's not just the running or the lifting. It's like the sleeping. It's you really, if you want to survive. And like looking back, we ran a lot, anywhere from 80 to 100 miles a week, which is a lot. But now it's like I can do that type of volume. But as a young, teenager, early 20s, it's a lot of volume. And it does wear on your body. You still have to go to school, go to classes. And so the teammate thing, I mean, you are just all in it together, trying to win, trying to stay healthy, trying to push each other. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of, Stephen Pfeiffer, Brent Vaughn, Bradley Hartgrader, Chris Panone, like all these names, they're, still great friends to this day. So yeah, it was amazing.
And you were a walk-on. So were the walk-ons treated any differently than the scholarship athletes?
Oh, no, definitely not treated any different. But I felt like I needed to, prove myself that I could hang with everybody. And no, definitely not treated any different for sure. I was accepted, pretty much immediately as, the first run was a long run out at the Grange. And I just showed up on a Sunday and went out and ran. I think that day was only 16 miles, but at that time was a lot of, miles for me. So it was good. Total acceptance immediately.
And you answered my question. I was going to ask next about keeping in touch with your former teammates, and it sounds like you're still good friends with them.
Yeah.
But when you first started college, what were your career interests outside of running?
Oh, man. I studied to become a teacher, actually. I was thinking about teaching. I was going to study international affairs, whatever job that would lead to, oh, man. Yeah, eventually I was leaning toward teaching and coaching, but just realized it wasn't quite for me. And for a lot of different reasons. But that was the first. But I always had an interest in media for sure. And I always owned a camera. But at that time, so I was a freshman in 2004, 2005. So YouTube launched in 2005. So like a YouTube career didn't exist when I was a freshman in college. So it wasn't on my radar at all.
I want to talk about YouTube now for the remainder of this interview. And what made you originally decide to commit to making a new video every day? You have published 1,762 vlogs in a row. And was there ever a time early that you were thinking about quitting and you wanted to stop? And how long do you plan to continue making daily vlogs?
Yeah, great question. Or questions. So I started, I think it was April 11th, 2016, I think is the day I started. And I think it was nothing like real deep or insightful. I wanted to get better at video production. I wanted to have fun with video production. And I wanted to share a little bit of my story. I think those were the three goals I said in the first vlog. And, oh man. So yeah, I won't get too much into that. Sorry, you might have to remind me of some of the questions, but so it was 2016. I did understand the YouTube algorithm pretty well, even though it has changed a lot since 2016. And I knew if I wanted to find an audience on YouTube that it does help to publish consistently. I won't say every day, but consistently. I opted for going daily. And, there was a ton of vloggers at that time doing daily uploads. It was, I would say, more popular back then. And I think they were trying to, find their voice, figure out YouTube. And so I was seeing these people, growing on YouTube, but also just turning it into a job and into a career. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. Like it is possible really hard, but possible. So let's see. Remind me of, there was a question in there.
Yeah. Was there ever a time early
quitting
that you thought about quitting?
So there's I'd say 3 times. So it was more of a life vlog for the first 2.5 years. And then about 2.5 years ago from right now, I pivoted to the running vlogs, the running content. And in that first 2.5 years, there was at least 3 times where my wife and I, we had to really, I was so close to quitting and so close to just simply not filming that day. Cause I could have taken one day off, but I'm the type of personality where, and you have to, that's where like the daily and like YouTube in general, you really have to know yourself well to figure out, okay, what's going to work for me on YouTube, on social media as a whole. Like so many people want me to start a podcast, but I know that if I'm going to start a podcast, I got to do it well, like really well. So I don't want to start something that doesn't work out well. So yeah, 3 times. And last question in that.
How long do you continue to keep making daily vlogs? Yeah,
I mean, I don't plan on slowing down on the daily. I have some ideas to change it up a little bit and to alter. But no, there's no plans to stop at this point as far as the daily goes. And just so everybody knows, like you probably have figured this out, Parker, is that sometimes some days are easier than others to create a video. For example, when I do running shoe reviews, those are easier days in the sense that there's a focus for the video and I'm simply here in the studio mostly talking. So those are kind of easier days to make video. So some days are harder than others. And over time, you get better at coming up with ways to make it a little, and it has gotten easier. I will say it was very hard at the beginning. It was pretty hard when I pivoted to running content because I didn't know how I could. But as you know, like I had 1,000 subscribers 2.5 years ago, and it wasn't until I pivoted to running where the channel actually started to grow.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You learn over time, and I don't know how you do it because me personally, I try to post maybe at the most during the school year 2 times a week. Yeah. And over the summer, I was posting maybe 3 times a week. Yeah. And even after posting 3 times a week, I was pretty worn out from that. Yeah. Which it's crazy that you've been able to post 4.8 years in a row. Yeah. I know, but it's great though. I mean, you're in school, like that's a lot of work. That's a lot of time. 2 to 3 times a week is awesome. So it's, oh man, it's like, and it's that consistency. If your audience knows, okay, there's going to be 2 videos a week, like stick to that. And so they can rely on that. And yeah, anyway, I'll leave it there. And you talked about how it was hard to film videos every day at the beginning, and now it's become easier. But what is your process for creating content, and how long does it typically take to film, edit, make a thumbnail, and then post? Mm-hmm. So some of the vlogs are natural, meaning some of the vlogs are natural where they just they happen. And I don't know what the focus of the vlog is going to be. I actually told a lady earlier today, I think it's like 50-50, where I would say 50% of the vlogs are actually planned out ahead of time, where I actually have a list of ideas that I want to talk about. And then 50% are just, whatever's happening that day. And so I have managed to turn YouTube into my job. So again, it was a lot harder when I had other jobs and YouTube. That was like the first like 4 years, 3.5 to 4 years, roughly. So now I can really focus on, training, running. I film that, training and running every day. And when I'm running 100+ miles a week, that can take 3 to 4 hours a day for the training. And I'm usually, not always, but usually filming that process. So that's, 3 to 4 hours. And then another, I'm going to say 2.5 hours of editing. And then another hour of the thumbnail, the title,
and then uploading and then all that stuff, scheduling it. So it is, I don't know. I mean, it is, and I'm probably, but then also like driving to the mountains, driving back. There's all these little things that add up to make a full day. That's for sure.
You work really hard, and you're spending a lot of time with the YouTube channel, but then in your videos, you also incorporate your family life. What do your kids think about the channel? Are they old enough to understand like the significance of how many subscribers you have?
No, they, which is, and so for those that haven't seen the channel that are watching, it's, I always say running is part of life and life is part of running. So they like come together, and and I think that's what maybe makes the channel a little different. And a lot of people do appreciate it. Everyone of course loves True Love. My wife, Bridget is her name, but everyone calls her True Love, including myself. And so, I just love showing like, we all love running. Running is amazing, but it's also that bigger picture of life. Like life is, at the end of the day, if, obviously always choosing family. Like there's moments where I have to say, okay, I can't go out for a double run today because I'm picking the kids up from school or whatever the case may be. So the kids, they don't understand. They understand I have a YouTube channel and that it's my job. But no, they don't really understand like the numbers, and it's probably better right now to keep it that way.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of True Love, what happened to Tuesdays with True Love?
I know. Well, so that's part of it is the filming. Again, kind of back to the podcast comment. If I'm going to do something, I want to try and do it well. So we were doing, again, for those that haven't, we were doing Tuesdays with True Love, where we would get an update from True Love on Tuesdays for her training. And she was getting ready for her first 5K and her first race in over 10 years. And it was a lot of fun. And, we haven't chosen a race for her yet for, let's say, the spring. A lot of races here in Denver have been canceled. So anyway, we'll bring it back at some point, but for now, we're just taking a little break.
That's good. Glad to hear that it'll be coming back. It
will. It
was fun to follow along. And you recently hit 100,000 subscribers. When will you be receiving the YouTube play button?
I have tried to get this application. Like there's no, like supposedly in the back end, which you're familiar with, in the back end of, I cannot find it. And they say, like, if you go to that, I've looked and there's supposed to be a link that I click and I can't find it. You know me and technology, Parker, we don't get along. So if you can find the link, I will submit my name. But no, I don't know where it's at.
It'd look really good in the studio.
Right. I know. Right over there by the Hoka shoe.
Yep. What is the weirdest YouTube related encounter that you have experienced in public?
That's awesome. That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, when I run through downtown Denver now, people definitely, give a little yell, which is awesome. It's fun just to connect with people in the real world, but a strange encounter. Oh man, I don't know if there's really been too many strange encounters. Like, okay, I mean, I guess when it happens in like grocery stores, that's a little unique. that has happened maybe twice here in the Denver area, where it's just, because you're not in your running element. It's like you're out shopping and, somebody gives you a hello and I give them a hi back, but it's fine. If anyone wants to say hello, don't be afraid. It's all good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. And you have very loyal and positive fans. How do you handle the negative comments and haters? I know on LetsRun you have gotten a lot of negative comments, which, I mean, LetsRun is notorious for the haters. Exactly. So you don't want to listen to LetsRun, but I know it can be difficult to ignore the negatives, even though you have so many positive comments. Me personally, I haven't had too many negative comments, a couple, but I'm curious to hear how you handle it.
Man, that's a great question. Kind of a fun question, because I don't get on LetsRun, first of all. That's my rule. I learned that 10 years ago when I was in college. It's like, it's a lot. I don't even want to comment. I just don't get on LetsRun. As far as our comments, I actually love the negative comments as long as they're constructive. Like sometimes you will just get nasty comments, and honestly, I just delete them. It's not even a good, piece of advice. It's not even worth your time to type anything back if it's just like really nasty. But the negative comments that are, let's say, constructive, love them. But in an ideal world, they would comment back and we'd actually get a conversation going. So that's how I deal with it. And I think I love commenting back to negative comments because they don't expect it, especially when the channel is, every vlog is getting a couple hundred comments. They don't think that I'm going to see that comment. And so when I actually type back, it's just brilliant. And sometimes they respond, but a lot of times there's just silence, just crickets. So that's how I deal with them. I don't even go on LetsRun. And then, but if they're nasty, just delete it. And if it's really nasty, just block them. They're just not worth your time.
Yeah, LetsRun, I think, probably are just jealous that you get to do this for a living.
Right. Oh man, it's all good, man. But they may not realize I've been uploading for almost 5 years in a row. So go find me somebody that's done that. It's somebody else that's done that, and we can have a conversation about it. It just doesn't happen with a snap of the finger.
So you are very positive on camera and in this interview, but are you as positive in real life as you appear on camera?
Some other people have asked me that recently as well. I think so. I mean, you should ask I guess you can't ask me. You got to ask the people that met me after the Naples half marathon. So find them, ask them. But even after, I didn't hit my A goal. My A goal for the Naples half marathon, I hit my B goal. So as soon as I crossed the finish line, I was like, 43 seconds. I was close, but then you immediately are like, okay, you figure out what didn't go right. But anyway, no, I think I'm a pretty positive person overall. I just think that life is too short to, to be negative or to have a negative outlook or, there is a lot of negativity in the world, but there's also a lot of good that unfortunately we don't see in the news. We don't see through social media all the time. And so I think we got to bring out the positive, and that's what runners are all about. Compared to other sports, I think runners are some of the most positive people on earth. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think your positivity is very contagious, and a lot of people could agree about that when watching your videos. And speaking of the Naples half marathon, when I went on Instagram and asked my audience what questions they wanted to ask you, this one was requested several times. So you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. What it is.
I know what you're gonna ask.
What happens at mile 5 of the Naples half marathon?
I know. I'm going to deflect. I'm going to keep that to myself. But here's the deal. I will tell if you might have to mark your calendar, Parker. So I'm going to run a half marathon probably April 24th or 25th. So if you want, we could, I don't know. I'll answer that after that. If you want to ask me that after that half marathon, I'll tell everybody. It's nothing crazy, but I'm going to keep that to myself until the next half marathon.
Okay, that sounds good. And there were a lot of conspiracy theories on LetsRun about it.
Oh my goodness. See, that's why I don't get on LetsRun. I had no idea that was happening. Oh my goodness. I don't get on LetsRun. I don't have time. It's like, that's why I don't get on LetsRun. Oh my goodness. I love you guys on LetsRun.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's just a waste of time, honestly. And
Yeah.
I never feel good after leaving Let's Run.
That's a good.
There's so many trolls.
That's a good indication that it's not a good place to go.
So now coming into the bell lap, ring the bell.
There it is. Hey, I got it too. Hold on. Here we go. There it is.
Yep. Bell lap, rapid fire questions.
Okay. I'll try and be
These are
concise, but you know me. Yeah,
you can be as concise or you can take as long as you want.
All right.
So these are all questions that either I came up with or were requested by the audience. So Boulder, Flagstaff, Albuquerque, they have a reputation for being amazing places to train at altitude. Where is the next great U.S. training location that others may not have considered? And where would you recommend, say, a group of college students wanting to train for the summer at altitude?
Crested Butte, Colorado. Put that out there. Did you say Crested Butte? I don't think you did. So no. I think Crested Butte would be a great spot. Small little town. I think it's around, honestly don't even know. It's probably around 8,500 is my guess. I'm not sure. Obviously, in the trail running scene, Bend is a big one, Bend, Oregon. Again, I'm not sorry if I'm not remembering what you said. Bend, Crested Butte, probably something in Wyoming and Montana, a little more off the beaten track. I would say, yeah, there's got to be some, I don't know, specific towns that would be perfect for that. Let's say 6,000 to 8,000 foot range. I'll throw out Idaho. I've heard Idaho is beautiful. And again, maybe a little bit lower elevation, but I've heard, there are some mountains in Idaho. So, again, my geography might not be the strongest at the moment, but those are a couple that come to mind. Cause Flagstaff, Boulder, is very taken at the moment. I think Colorado Springs gets kind of a bad rap or kind of goes under the radar. Colorado Springs is a pretty amazing place. The Olympic training center is there in Colorado Springs here in Colorado. Anyway, I'll leave it there.
Wyoming has Laramie, Wyoming, where my brother actually lived for a summer at 7,000 feet. It's a great place. Yeah.
I mean, it could be a little challenging with the wind and the cold in the winter, especially in Wyoming. But, somewhere maybe up by the Tetons. I'm not sure. So
I know that you have said that, you don't want to get a shoe contract because you enjoy reviewing shoes so much for the YouTube audience.
Yeah.
But let's say you got approached by, we'll say Skechers because they're not the most well-known running shoe company.
Sure.
They offer you a contract for $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you are not allowed to review the shoes of other companies anymore. Would you take it?
I would not.
Wow.
Not. No, yeah. They'd have to increase that a lot. No, I don't think if you I don't think obviously $1 million is a lot of money. I often wonder what the best of the best, what they get paid. The Rups of the world and even Killian on the trail side. I kind of wonder at times, but I am so happy sitting right where I'm sitting here in the studio. And honestly, just for the sake of fun, it's really fun to be able to, run in so many different shoes. But no, anyway, to answer your question, I would not.
Wow, that is some dedication to the YouTube family.
Yeah.
I believe Molly Seidel was offered a contract extension, or the rumor is that she got offered a contract extension by Saucony. And I want to say they were offering her $200,000 a year for 4 years.
Wow.
So I don't know if that's correct, but
yeah, I'm excited actually. I am really excited that there's another player in the game, Puma now. So who runs in Puma? Nobody runs in Puma. So that is really exciting that she jumped ship from Saucony. I mean, sorry, Saucony, and jumped over to Puma. Like, I mean, talk about a throwback old school company. I hope that they sign more athletes. And again, it's better for us, the consumers, to have more competition, more innovation happening. So yeah, I'm very excited for her.
Yeah, that keeps prices low, and I'm excited to see what Puma does. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a review from you at some point.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
So do you hope your children will grow up to become runners, and are you going to push them to do sports or anything like that?
Yes and no. Yes, I would hope for them to become runners. No, I wouldn't push them to be, to do sports or to be athletes. We did soccer for the first time this past fall. I filmed a little bit of it for the vlog, and it was fun. It was our first time doing organized sports, and they enjoyed it. I wouldn't say they loved it. And it was soccer. They were pretty, they're pretty good, pretty fast, pretty aggressive, definitely competitive. But no, they can discover whatever they want. We're not really musically talented in this family at all. But I think it'd be so cool to be great at the guitar, great at the piano. But anyway, I would love for them to be runners someday, but only if they want to.
Do you have a favorite high point or high peak or 14er to run up? And do you ever just go out and leisurely hike up the mountains? And if so, are you the guy that just walks really fast and walks past all the other hikers?
That's funny. That is a funny question. My favorite place to train is Grays and Torreys because it's an hour from my house, so it's easy to get to, and it's like a perfect 13-mile loop up 2 14ers. So you get about 5,000 feet of vertical gain, 13 miles. It's just perfect for training for Pikes Peak. That's my go-to. It's not the most beautiful spot in Colorado. I don't hike mountains anymore. I used to. I haven't hiked a 14er in years. Actually go out and walk up a 14. I haven't done it in years. My dad used to be a big hiker, but he doesn't hike in the mountains as much anymore. So no, I don't hike mountains, and I'm actually kind of a slow walker. I'm not great at walking. I would not be passing people. Yeah.
How many of Colorado's 14ers have you summited?
I've only done probably 30 of the 52, 50, depends on who you ask, 52 or 54. So I've probably done 30 of them, but my brother has done all of them. He's the king. He's actually done all, just to brag on him a little bit, he's done all the Centennial as well. So the 100 highest peaks in Colorado. So not just 14ers, but 13ers as well. So he's a beast. Yeah.
Wow. Do you expect to complete all of them at some point?
I think so. Here's the deal. I don't like too much risk as far as falling off the mountains. And some of them get a little crazy on top where you got to kind of know what you're doing. A little bit of, I think it's called class 3 climbing. So I'm not doing crazy mountains. It's just not my cup of tea, but I'll probably finish them all at some point.
And I know some of them don't have the best trails either. Mm-hmm. What is something that you enjoy doing that your YouTube audience may not know of? And do you have any obscure hobbies?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, I'm just trying to think. So I used to be a big reader, actually. Now I just listen to audiobooks because, again, once the YouTube channel started, I just don't have that much free time. But I used to be a voracious reader, still am, but it's more audiobook based. I used to be a snowboarder, but I'm not much anymore. So that would be maybe an obscure one that maybe people don't know. I used to snowboard a lot here in Colorado. Man, that's a good. Sadly I don't do a lot else outside of running and YouTube. I probably sound really boring. I'd say I probably follow sports. That's probably the big one where I love sports. I'm just going to say, and people are going to hate me for this, so my mom is she comes from a very big family in New York. So I was raised a Yankees fan. So I know. So I'm actually but I'm not a bandwagon Yankees fan. All right. So I've been a Yankees fan since I was a kid. So I got to, in the 90s when they won 4 championships. So I'm actually the dark side of a Yankees fan. And I know people are going to hate me for that, but anyways.
I don't know that I can respect that.
You better not be a Red Sox fan.
No. Okay, 2 more questions. These are more fun.
Okay.
What is your go-to order at Andy's? Andy's frozen custard for everybody who doesn't know.
So in the summertime, it's key lime pie. Mm-hmm. I love key lime pie, Andy's. It's amazing. It's like they mix real pie into the custard. For those that don't know, got to tell the story. Whenever I get a W, fly the W, get an FKT or a PR, I take all the kids, the whole family to Andy's, so after the Naples half marathon, we all got to go out. In the wintertime, they make some really good ones. It's hard to deny their cookie dough mix with hot fudge. That's pretty good.
Last question, Seth. This is a very important question, and I'm sure people will judge you if you don't have a very good answer for this.
Perfect.
What is your favorite item from Taco Bell?
Oh my gosh. I probably went to Taco Bell in college, but I may not have even been to Taco Bell in college. That's how, we go to Chick-fil-A. That's kind of our fast food here in Englewood. A gordita. Is that even exist?
Oh yeah, that exists.
All right.
That's respectable.
I remember hearing the Chihuahua, which probably was their mascot back like 15 years ago, talk about gorditas. So I'll say gordita. Yeah.
Seth, thank you so much for joining me. I was honored.
Parker.
And we look forward to seeing you on YouTube. And if you want to plug your YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah. Well, just type in my name, Seth DeMoor, DeMoor, and you'll find it. And daily vlog publishes every morning at 5 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it's just a lot of good stuff, mountain running, trying to run fast on the roads, and a lot of running shoe reviews. So I appreciate you, Parker, and your audience. Thanks for the opportunity. It was a lot of fun, man. You did great. Did really well. Good questions, really good questions. So thanks for the time.
Thank you. So inquiry of the episode, I am going to use one of the questions that I asked Seth. So do you have any obscure hobbies? Let me know in the comments, and I'd love to hear about it. But that's the end of this video, so thank you so much for watching. Live life to the max, run to the max, seek beauty, work hard, love each other, and I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I'm not actually going to see you tomorrow, but maybe there will be a video coming soon. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.